Hello and welcome to another very special edition of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. Dad, this is my dad.
Hi.
His name is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
And this is the Quarterly Report. This is a very special episode. The 2024 season is in full bloom. Dad, it's only been about 40 games so far, hence quarter, 162. That's about a quarter. It's been shocking. It's been polarizing. Some good teams are bad. Some bad teams are good. And we're going to dive into all of those things. I'm going to hit all of the AL East. All of the AL teams. My dad's going to hit all of the NL teams. We'll kind of go East, Central, West. We'll kind of burn them each. And if you have any questions after I get done my division, just like I'll have any questions that get done your division, Dad. Hopefully you at home like the shtick. Again, we did this last year.
It was popular.
It wasn't, but we loved it, so we're doing it again, and we only did it for quarter one, so hopefully we try to do it for quarter 2, 3, and at the end of the year, because after all, we need those quarterly reports in by Monday.
9 a.m.
AL East, Dad, let's get started.
Sure.
Dad, the only non-American team in all of baseball is struggling. I'm starting from the bottom up this year. The Blue Jays, no one's hitting. Don't know what it is in Toronto, but you can't seem to get the bat on the ball. They are the second least in runs scored in all of baseball, only above the Chicago White Sox. The A's and Rockies that are hitting better than this potent offense.
Yes.
Quarter one has felt more impotent than potent. And I said it last year, no one listened. The Kevin Biggio experiment is over. The Red Sox, Dad, any place but last is the new motto for this team. Projected to finish last this year, but hey, they're actually pretty good.
They're doing really well with pitching and defense.
Yes. Despite all of their injuries, the Red Sox have been a really fun watch this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. Lowest team ERA in all of baseball. I wouldn't bet on them, though. I don't think that will last through all the season. Dad, the Rays, they're still a good investment, but just not as high of a yield. They're still feeling effects of this Wander Franco guy. The Randy Land, by the way, sounds like another broke theme park. It's certainly not going well this year. The pitching staff is unusually struggling, lots of injuries, and as always, my business advice is to sell your Rays stock now. Dad, the Orioles, you're supposed to invest in young startups, right? However, unless your name is Jackson Holiday. Ouch, probably still too young, but don't worry, O's fans, there's a dozen other baby birds booming. Speaking of baby birds, who's going to be pushed out the nest at the trade deadline? Overall, it's a good time in Baltimore. And to close out the East, Dad, the Yankees have found their fire. It's about ejecting Aaron Judge, and you'll see baseballs literally light up the sky. Take a look at his numbers. Pre-ejection, post-ejection is completely different. The Yankees, they won't be missing the playoffs this year. Garrett, who, though? The pitching staff is doing well without their Cy Young. And speaking of awards, Juan Soto looks to be your AL MVP. That is the AL East, Dad. Thoughts, comments, anything I missed?
Are you surprised by the Yankees' great record?
No. I think
without Cole?
No, I'm not I still think it'll be a fun thing to track each quarter. The Yankees or the Orioles being first or second. I think both teams obviously make the playoffs. I'm not confident in any other wildcard team coming out of the East this year. We'll see. But Red Sox are full of injuries. Rays don't impress me, and the Jays may be selling. Like I said, good teams being bad. These are the great first example with the Toronto Blue Jays. Anything else that struck out to you in the East before I turn it over to you for the NL East?
This is my two little points of interest. The Orioles have such a great farm system. They will be very active at the trade deadline. And I'm thinking you can see where they need some boosting to get their stock a little higher. You get that little financial?
Yeah. I said that a lot of baby birds live in the nest. I thought that was a good joke.
It was a great one. But you can see them on the progression. They do need some, at least one a closer and then some strong relief. But I think they're so strong in their offense. They seem to really just do exceedingly well, come from behind with victories and everything else. They're destined to be in the playoffs, and they're a fun team to watch. Last night they had back-to-back triples. So when's the last time you heard about a team going back-to-back triples? So yeah, I think it's a fun division, and I'm surprised that the Yankees are doing so well.
Would you like to burn the NL East just like I burned the AL?
Sure. Let's start at the very, very bottom. You know what? It's so funny. Right now, they have the worst team in the major leagues, the Marlins, and they're starting their fire sale early. So apparently, they're saying, "Hey, at 13-32, let's get rid of all the great pitchers and infielders we have." I think they will be decimated by July 31st. They're starting early, and they were a playoff team last year. So what happened between last year and there was so much momentum? People were very, very, high on them. They had this interest. What happened in the offseason? And they plummeted right off the bat. In their division, they might end up being the second, third worst team in the major leagues this year. Mets. I just think they will get rid of some players. Trade deadline. I can see Polar Bear leaving. I can see some other folks. It seems there's still chemistry problems, and they seem to lose a lot of close games. Nationals, surprise team in the NL East. They have a great minor league system as well. They got folks coming up, James Wood in particular to come up. I think the Nationals next year and the following year will be in the hunt of the getting to the lead and all that stuff. They're the surprise team, in my opinion, in that division. Braves are always good. Phillies, they have right now the most wins in the major leagues. Who would have thought that would happen in the first quarter? Because they always seem to come from behind in the latter half of the division. Half of the year. Right now, they're killing it. Offense is doing really well. Strong pitching. I just think the Phillies are kind of destined to be, maybe in the World Series again this year. But right now, they lead the majors in wins.
Good burn there, Dad. You covered a lot of stuff that I would have covered. Do you think, I agree with you, the Phillies typically struggle in April and May. I think they had a losing record at this point last year.
Yeah.
Or if they were not losing right around 500.
2 years ago, they were below 500 till August.
Mm-hmm. So they're, I think, 5 games above the Braves. Could be 4.5. Mm-hmm. Are they going to win the division?
Right now, I think they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an early quarter one upside means victory in the final quarter.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I'll disagree. I still think the Braves are the best team in the East, but they're certainly not showing it. Acuna is not going off, and some of their other offensive pieces aren't going off.
Yeah.
They're
losing the teams they shouldn't lose to.
Sure. They're still a great team.
Right.
Both those teams are playoff teams. It's just
Correct.
Who wins the division, and I don't really know if it matters. Dad, same thoughts on the Marlins, real bad team. The Mets being a good team, being bad, and the Nats being a bad team being good. I still have the same note for both of them. When do you think they will sell? Because I don't see the Nats competing this year with all their one-year contracts.
I'm thinking the Nationals are building for the future. They may sell some pieces along the way, but they're looking for the future. Right now, their Double-A team and their Triple-A team are very, very strong. Their Double-A team, I think, is ranked in the top 5 of all the minor league teams as far as strength and everything else. They've drafted and traded very well. All those pieces are coming up the ladder. Next year could be a very good year in Washington.
So when will they sell this year? On the deadline of July 30th or earlier like the Marlins?
I think the Nationals will probably get rid of a few things before the deadline and just build for the rest of the year.
So when? On the deadline day, or
No.
are they giving up early?
They're giving up early.
Oh, okay. I have them truly being a deadline seller.
Okay.
I think they want to keep as many tickets in D.C. as they possibly can. Because when they hit the sell button, Winker goes, Nick Senzel goes, probably Joey Meneses, Joey Gallo if he's off the IL. So just like, what was it, 2021 or 2022?
Lane Thomas.
Maybe Lane Thomas goes. I hope not. Yeah. But yeah, certain pieces, if they're not in the future plan for the Nats, could go. But I do think they'll kind of hold out to the last second because I see them honestly being better than the Mets, although I think they'll finish 4th just because they'll sell so many pieces off, including Trevor Williams and maybe Irvin in their rotation as well.
Right now, he's one of the hottest pitchers in the National League.
Who
would have thought?
Looks like he'll get some calls.
Yeah.
Good burn, Dad. Back to the AL. Let's talk Central. I am excited about this. Last year, I criticized both the AL and the NL Central. when did the AL Central get so good, guys? I mean, unless you're the Chicago White Sox.
And they've won a few games recently.
Dad, I can't remember a worse start to any season in my time of being a baseball fan, and I had a Cubs fan like in my household. The least amount of runs scored in all of baseball. Simply put, there is no product to watch. The only fans in attendance are rival scouts looking to pillage your team come July.
That's a good one.
Tigers, I picked you to win the Central. My dark horse to win Rookie of the Year was Colt Keith, no pun intended. And both predictions are looking like Franklin Park in Detroit. Bleak. If the DraftKings odds to win the Central were like Detroit real estate, I'd still throw a few bucks down and get a couple houses. Tarek Skubal could be the diamond in the rough and win the Cy Young, though. He's having a fantastic year. I still believe in the Tigers. I just don't know with the Central. It's going to be very interesting to watch because the Twins, and I'll get to the Guardians, both don't impress me. The Twins, we're excited to see you this summer. We're going to Target Field in June, but you're a streaky team. Losses, winning streak. Now you're getting on a losing streak. You probably will have the longest winning streak in 2024, which is great. And you're teaching all the investors at home about good times to buy and good times to sell because they're a very up and down market. If they could just get healthy is a phrase that I think the Twins have been hearing since Kirby Puckett. And if they're on a losing streak at the end of quarter two, expect a fire sale. I don't see the Twins being above 500 come October, come end of September.
Just not a real strong lineup, 1 through 9.
If they're healthy, but that's the motto.
Yeah, I know.
Dad, let's go talk Kansas City. Did the ghost of Alex Gordon inspire this team? I know he's not dead, but these Royals are doing something supernatural.
Yep.
Pitching is good. Hitting is good. This is a team you can believe in and could be the scary winner to win the Central. I don't have anything negative to say about you, Kansas City. Good job. Guardians, what the actual hell? You are in first place without Francona, without Bieber, but you're still going. The Guardians, I wish there was like, you know how there's the Indianapolis Colts? I wish Cleveland, instead of, choosing the Guardians, picked a horse name because they feel like a horse that broke its leg mid-race and they continue to run. I don't know. The wheels have fallen off this team. Like I said, there's no Bieber. Their pitchers are on innings limits. No one's hitting. The front office will not buy at the deadline, yet they continue to win games. I think if you have stock in this team, if you have any DraftKings picks, sell it now. Cash out because it's just going not to work in Cleveland in 2024. That's the AL Central, Dad. Your thoughts?
Somebody at the beginning of the year picked the Royals as a surprise team in the Central Division. That person was very wise. I knew from last year they're working their way up. They had a nice offseason. They put some pieces together. I saw them play in Baltimore. They have a nice little lineup, and they seem to be, some speed, some defense, pitching. A nice trade last year, getting the big left-hander and everything. So their first 4 of their starting rotations, pretty good. So I think Royals, they may, for the first time in a long time, be buyers at the deadline. I'm thinking they're the dark horse to win the division.
I don't think they're the dark horse anymore. I think they're the favorite. If the Royals signed people to multi-year contracts, I would have backed them. It's just they had too many 1 year, and it felt like trade chips, like the Hunter Renfroes and some of their pitching with like Michael Wacha. If they just signed those guys to 2 years, I probably would have given them a little bit more credit. We'll see if they can keep it going, but I think the first sign of trouble, they could also be sellers. So
yeah, but at the same time, they're a fun team to watch right now, and I think the players got some good chemistry.
If the White Sox weren't in your division, you could be the best division in baseball, but they are. Dad, NL Central, I figured obviously you'll have fun with the Cubbies, so why don't you go ahead and burn the Central any which way you want.
You know what's funny about that? Somebody very close to me has always said it's a very weak division. That person's very, very acutely aware of what the Central Division is. The Brewers, who are ahead of the division right now, we're supposed to go way down the thing after getting rid of, 3 are the very top players and everything else. But for some reason, they're playing well. I think some injuries are going to come back to haunt them, but the pitching staff, which was left after their decisions in the offseason, are doing fairly well. They seem to hit the ball. They don't have a whole lot of power, but at the same time, they get runs in, and pitching defense seems to work. Brewers right now, I think, surprise team in the division, and I think they have a pretty good chance of winning the division. They took a tough blow with Contreras and everything, but that was the Cardinals.
That was Cardinals. That was great for the Brewers.
Yeah,
different Contreras than the Brewers.
The Cubbies, team with the most injuries ever in baseball. Literally,
Red Sox fan here.
I know. Literally, right now as we speak, 10 people on the IL. I think 8 of them are pitchers, which is just, if you're the Cubs this offseason, you reconstruct your strength conditioning program, your trainers, you get rid of everybody who is involved with, keeping your players healthy. I think they did a horrible job in the offseason. They're blaming a lot of the injuries on last season, especially with the pitchers. But they had the offseason to kind of get them back, and I don't think they did a great job. But right now, if they get some of these guys back, I'm not sure. They got chips in their minor league system to trade. They're going to have to get very creative in the next 3 months to win that division. They just seem to flounder, and right now they don't even have an infield. Defensively, they're in horrible shape, much worse than last year, with no explanation. I think the fans of Chicago are getting a little antsy, saying, hey, this was supposed to be our year. Weak division, you spent some money in the offseason, and right now we're not looking great at all. There's holes all over the place. Ian Happ's having a horrible year. The catching is hitting below 200. They have some major holes lineup-wise and bullpen-wise. Bullpen might be one of the worst in baseball. Pirates, young team on its way up. Love what they're doing. Skeens seems to be a great young pitcher. Struck out 11 Cubs yesterday. They are doing a nice job moving up the ladder. They've drafted well. I think they're going to be, towards a 500 team. I like what they're doing. Again, but the Pirates always have a pretty good first half, not a great second half.
They were first or second when we did this last year.
Yeah. So the two teams I don't understand, the Reds, who were supposed to be really good, fastest team in baseball.
No steals. Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah. They have talent. People in Cincinnati are already grumbling about, again, the managerial change. They were supposed to be at the top of the heap as well, but they seem to be not putting it all together. And, some of the managerial decisions haven't gone well. But the team that always surprises me, people all over the globe picked the Cardinals to win the division. Another bad year. So I think they will have the fire sale this year and trade the big pieces and really, truly start from scratch for the future. They got some pieces that will bring a lot of return. I think this is the year they blow up a team.
Good burn, Dad. Yeah. Speaking of blowing up the team, good burn. I had a lot of questions that you kind of did answer. I was surprised you didn't talk about Imanaga of the Cubs.
Oh, what Rookie of the Year?
I think Rookie of the Year and Cy Young at this point. He has no losses.
Yeah. And what's so funny? It's funny. I did a huge research on him a couple days ago. Apparently, in Japan, they throw high strikes. Okay. And he is phenomenal at throwing it around the letters. And the American hitters aren't used to having a lot of four-seamers, that high and everything else. And they're not catching up, even though he doesn't throw that hard. And apparently he has like 3 or 4 devastating pitches. But the high fastball is what's getting him through the tough times. The league may catch up to him, but right now he is by far the jewel of the pitching staff, and great signing. But thank God that he's, I think, 5-0 right now.
Yeah.
You take away those 5 wins, they're a 500 team.
So or less, but yeah, or they're the 20-25.
So, and the other, the other great move that the Cubs made was the trade with the Dodgers to get Bush. He started off extremely well. The league kind of figuring him out. But a great trade. I think he's going to do well. He has a bright future. But right now, they just have been. It always seems every day they put somebody on the IL that really creates holes in their lineup. They're not scoring a lot of runs. So I think he is the rookie of the year and has a bright future, but they need so much more. Jed Hoyer's got to get on the stick and do some things. People are starting to complain about him as well in Chicago.
My other questions were for the bottom of the barrel teams. Is there a chance in Cincinnati to make the playoffs? 19-25, extremely athletic team. I would argue the most athletic team in the Central, but they're not putting it together. Is there a chance?
There is.
How much? What would you give it?
40%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would give it less. So, all right.
I just think that, again, it's a long season. We're at the quarter pole.
Right.
We're at the quarter pole. And
the first lap.
Yes. And this is the day of the Preakness, by the way, so I'm glad we're talking about horse racing. But I really think they have so much talent, they will straighten it out. I think it's going to be pitching that could be up in the air. Hopefully it gets them through. But again, they're 19-25, not anything to panic about yet. But boy, they're a fun team to watch. And they have injuries too. Their outfielder had a lot of injuries. So they get everybody back. Why not? It's a weak division. 85 wins might win the division.
Well, I know we talked about the over or under for the Brewers. If the Brewers go 500 for the rest, like if they truly win as much as they lose the rest of the season, they'll be extremely good. They'll be in the high 80s just for that reason alone. I think the Brewers are still my odds-on favorite. Cardinals, Dad, is it full rebuild mode? I think I've moved past anyone that has an expiring contract, Paul Goldschmidt, the 1 year Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, I think they're all traded. But is it full rebuild where they start looking at Tommy Edman, Nolan Arenado, Nolan Gorman? Do they completely get rid of the team, or do they keep any pieces?
I say they blow it up.
Wow, that becomes the best players.
Think about it. Last year, they said, oh, wait a minute. We're not going to trade our key guys. This year, they're like, okay, we gave it a year. It ain't working.
And I also can't remember, speaking of growing up in a Cubs household, I can't remember the last year, back-to-back years, the Cardinals have been bad.
Yeah.
I remember individual years, but not back-to-back.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Pujols, there's Jim Edmonds, Scott Rowe. I mean,
it seems like they just have some bad chemistry, not a good manager, and it seems like they just get in a funk and they can't get out of it. In my opinion.
I definitely think the manager too, but the catcher injury really puts him in that full rebuild.
Apparently he's out 10 weeks.
I mean, he just broke his freaking arm.
Yeah. That was gruesome to see.
Yeah. All right, we will save the NL West, Dad, for last. Let me do the AL West burn. We're burning right through this, everybody. We're doing really well.
We're on fire.
This girl is on fire. Hope you guys like the content and not my singing. Again, if you really do like it, comment below, and then we can do more of these, and they're fun and a little high energy, a little silliness, a little shticky.
Make sure you like the ties.
Yes, we can get gaudier ties. With the more subscribes you get, more money for ties.
Or we'll mail you one.
We'll sign it. Dad, I like staying at the bottom and working my way up.
Oh.
This is where I'm going to go a little out of order. I want to start with Oakland. They're openly not on the bottom. They're fourth place right now. They almost made some of us believers. Now they're on a 6-game losing streak. Vultures are starting to circle. Mason Miller, how does your garden grow? Because in October it's going to grow somewhere else.
August.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm just saying I think he'll be a playoff team, and he's a great player.
Yeah.
Your team batting average is .218, which could also be the White Sox winning percentage this year. But I mean, you're just straight up not hitting. The Ryan Noda, who came on the scene last year as their first baseman, he's in the minors. The fastest center fielder ever, Esturio Ruiz, can't hit, but he can steal bases. There's a lot of single talents and not 3-tool, 4-tool, 5-tool players. I think your best hitter, Brent Rooker, will get traded too. Oakland is clear they don't want to be in Oakland, so they're not going to try to win.
Yeah. Think about going to a AAA stadium next year with a capacity of way under any stadium.
They may not fill that stadium.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, they're in disarray, as they say.
Regardless, I hope no one bought any sort of stock in the Oakland Athletics as they're selling their own stock. The Angels will be a race to the bottom with the Athletics. I still think the Athletics will be fifth come end of September. I've learned in the past 4 seasons that there is no guardian angel for Mike Trout.
Ah!
There is no angel in the outfield for him. They have abandoned him and his health. Speaking of abandonment, Anthony Rendon still abandoning his team. Will he ever play more than 50 games again? I'm really worried about Ron Washington. I don't think he understood what he signed up for. He's openly calling players out in the media for not doing things right. Yeah. But expect to see these Angels go through hell this year. That's my note on the LA Angels.
Yeah, and then, being in, I mean, think about two teams from major cities being just horrendous. I can't get over how bad the Angels are right now, and it's just like, how can they compete, market-wise with the Dodgers and the White Sox with the Cubs? You're talking, you got one winner, one loser. The Angels, I think, might be the surprise team for me in the major leagues, being 16-28. I didn't think they'd be that bad.
Angels always hover around 72 wins. They'll probably like 70 this year, but they just look historically back. This is kind of what they'll do. They'll surprise you. They'll go on a random winning streak, maybe when Mike Trout gets back from the IL. I'm just letting you know, I still think the Athletics will be 5th.
But it seems like they never get young people come up through their...
No, they only have young people playing right now. Nolan Schanuel, Zach Neto. They just don't put them in the minors. Both those players play less than 40 minor league games.
And they get a little, shell shock.
And they do some of the same thing with pitching, and I just don't think they have strategies in Anaheim.
Okay.
Dad, in Houston, I want to keep finishing this burn. Houston, we had a problem. This was a scary quarter one. It was on the brink of bankruptcy, but it ended on a winning streak. And I really think it could be one of the best comeback stories ever, so I still think you should sprinkle a few bucks on them to win, maybe not the division, but at least make the playoffs at this point. They still have some of the best hitters and pitchers in the country. You can't tell me if you're the Yankees or the Orioles or the Phillies and you're playing them in the playoffs or the World Series and your all-star pitcher, your Garrett Cole, your Aaron Nola, your Kyle Bradish has to face Altuve, Bregman, and Yordan Alvarez. I don't care what their averages are right now. I don't care how many home runs they have or RBIs they have. Your pitcher is nervous. It's just there's name recognition. They've been there before. If the Astros get to the playoffs, I still think there's a watch-out factor. And I really think there'll be a fun quarter 2 watch as their stock comes back up from the brink. The Rangers, Dad, your 2023 World Series champions, they definitely looked a little hungover as they were buying stocks on Wall Street.
Blinded by the light.
But they took a shower, Dad. They shaved. They put on some jersey that wasn't see-through, and now they're ready to go. I wouldn't bet against this team, although I wouldn't recommend picking your MVP and Rookie of the Year from the same team like I did. So maybe spread your money around and not put it all on the Rangers. Mariners, Dad, I don't know how they're first. I really will never understand why they're first, why their GM operates they do. Really anything. I don't understand the Mariners. The Athletics have scored more runs than them, yet they're the ones in first place. They do have phenomenal pitching. That's kind of why. But if their offense can't get going, it just feels like something is a little sleepless in Seattle, like the Bats. That's my burn.
That's really good. Question for you. Rangers being 500, 23, and 22, is it just slow out of the gate, or...
It's some injuries. Okay. They have some pitching injuries, just like the Houston Astros. They try to bring Jack Leiter up, and I've never seen someone get so eviscerated on his first few starting appearances. I think he went back down to the minors with a 19 ERA. So his confidence is going to be shaken, and he'll be in the minors for a little while to get that back. I think Kumar Rocker is still in the minors too. Like, they have people that are there, but they're going to have 2 of the best midseason trade acquisitions, and I mean that jokingly, because Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom could come back. So just like Verlander coming back, or Urquidy, anyone that's possibly coming back for these 2 Texas teams, they're going to just catapult them. So if all they can really do is tread water, if they are 500 at the deadline, get your pitching back and go. I just am not. They're scoring more than the Mariners. I mean, much more runs than the Mariners. So I just think it's a matter of time before a Mariners pitcher gets hurt. There's a little crack in their hull. And I thought that was a good Mariner joke.
Or Key Bridge.
That's too soon. But crack in the hull is perfect for a Mariner, but who has a boat. But I think both Rangers and Astros will make the playoffs. I don't know about the Mariners, but there's going to be that 6. It's Yankees, Orioles, Rangers, Astros for me. I know people are going to tell me I'm crazy picking the Astros. I lean the Royals at this point. I don't think there'll be 2 teams coming out the Central.
No.
And then it's a battle for, is it going to be the Mariners? Is it going to be the Rays? Are the Blue Jays going to do something? But I don't know. I just don't believe in the Mariners. I don't believe in 2 out of 3 of the first place teams in the AL right now.
Let me ask a question. Why is baseball having so many injuries?
I think people are trying to overperform to stay relevant, to get the big contracts, to take care of their families. So if they can, honestly, if you can have 6 amazing starts. I mean, look at Amada for the Cubs. After 5 games, they're like, this guy's underpaid. After 5 games in the MLB, you can have a streak. You can have 5 weeks of hitting 350. And be like, oh my God, we gotta sign this guy to a long-term contract. It's such a small sample size, so I think players are smart enough to know that if they can try their absolute hardest, and honestly, I know I don't like this expression, but give 110%, because you can only give 100%, then that 10% kind of breaks your body. I think that's what they're doing, and they're hoping they get signed, they get extended, they get that big contract before they get injured. So I think they're overperforming for money.
So you think the pitchers are trying to throw as hard as they can and be 92 to 95?
No, I think they're trying to be 98 to 102.
Okay.
I think,
and they can't do it.
I think they can do it for a little bit. I really think that. I mean, if we look at when Aaron Nola and Austin Nola faced each other in the playoffs a couple years ago, it said 3 out of 4 Aaron Nola's fastest pitches in his life were against his brother, because in that moment you feel that 110%. You feel that extra bit. And obviously Aaron Nola is not injured now. It's like, it's not a bad example. But like there are those, if you know someone's in the stands, or if your coach had a conversation with you that like, hey, I know this is an old reference, but Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, is watching today, and he's looking to, he's who's he going to be in the 2026, 2027 team. Hey, maybe I'll get a couple years extension. Maybe I don't need to hit free agency.
Okay.
And I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's performing in the moment. I don't think it's so selfish that they're just showing off. I don't think it's on strength and conditioning coaches. I think they build them a regiment, and the player who has really been a god their whole life. I mean, think about these people in high school. They dominated. Any position they played, if they're in the major leagues, they were beyond the best in high school. They were the best in their county. They dominated every tournament. They might have given up 2 runs their entire high school season.
Yeah.
And now they finally have, like, a challenge. I mean, like, I think that kind of matters. They want to still be top dog. They think they're invincible. And I think they overperform.
How about the guys who are having the back problems and hamstring problems? Is that not some kind of, not having enough flexibility?
No, I think it's the same thing. You know your limits and you're trying to push yourself.
Okay.
Whether it's...
or you got a little pain and you ignore it and go out there and play.
That's quite possible, too.
Okay.
I mean, if you listen to former major leaguers that were on that, like, am I going to be DFA'd? Am I going to be sent down? I can't tell my coach I'm injured. That gives him a reason to send me down. Which is sad.
And not come back up.
Which is sad. It's a lot of performance-related things, but at the end of the day, I think that people are trying to overswing. All the stats. Baseball players are one of the greatest statisticians ever, and they know that if they swing their bat faster, they'll hit the ball farther. And if you're 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", you really can only swing the bat so fast. Yeah. And I'd rather, again, be like Luis Ariz, just make the contact, get on base, and let your team get you in. Yeah. You don't always have to hit a home run.
Yeah.
But, again, that's my perspective.
No, I think it's really good. And now that, when you read the article about baseball, it's exit velocity, and it's all these analytical type of things they do for everybody on every at-bat and every pitch and everything else. It sometimes is overwhelming.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree.
Take us home. Burn the great NL West. Go ahead. The 3 middle teams are always going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah, you know what? The only team with a winning record in the West is the Dodgers. That was the super team coming into baseball this year. Everybody thought Dodgers, were going to win 110 games. They're doing well.
Probably good. Yeah.
They're doing well. Again, they've had some, hopefully they have some people coming back to make them even stronger in the second half, especially in the pitching department. But what surprises me, the Giants have surprised me. They had a really good offseason, It just it hasn't translated into a winning record. Of all the teams in baseball, Giants had probably in the top 5 offseason, but they haven't panned out. They're 20-25 right now. Chapman is not doing well at all. I think a lot of people said this guy can't hit, and those people are correct. The Diamondbacks struggling at 21-23. Padres are below 500. Those 3 teams you alluded to are like, you wonder if it's going to, kick in, second gear here as we go. But right now, you're below 500 and you got to, get on a winning streak. The Rockies, I don't know. You could get the Marlins, Rockies, and White Sox, put them in AAA, and hope for the best.
Relegation, I'm fine.
Yeah, and you got people in Colorado that don't want to be there. I think they will try to get rid of things. Chris Bryant is just
he's there.
Yeah, he even admitted he made a mistake signing a long-term deal with the Rockies, which is not great for the clubhouse. I think the Dodgers will just keep getting stronger as the year progresses. And then if you're talking wild card, is there a wild card team between the Padres and Diamondbacks? I don't think the Giants are in the conversation, but will the Padres and Diamondbacks come back to be a wild card? I think the Phillies and Braves are shoe-in, the winner of the Central, and then it's a kind of crapshoot who's going to be, the rest of the teams that go out for the playoffs and wild cards. Right now, outside the Phillies and Dodgers, that's the strength of the National League. And the rest are kind of like floating around a little bit. So I think this year, the trade deadline will be probably the best trade deadline we've had in a long time because there's so many teams that are right there in the thick of things. Like they get a couple players, they'll go. Will the supply be there? There's some bad teams, but is there enough players for people to do a jump start? I think a lot of people are going to be really looking for help. I don't know what the inventory is going to be.
Good burn. I have a lot of questions about this because I think I said this at the beginning when we were doing over and under, that the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Giants all had the same over-under line because people didn't know what that was going to shake out.
Yeah.
I think the best point you made of that entire burn is that the Giants are done. I wouldn't believe in them. Jung-Hoo Lee, I would say their best offseason signing, and maybe a little bit better than Blake Snell because I like Lee's contract more, and I think Snell's going to opt out at the end of this year anyways.
Yeah.
Lee's done for the year. He's injured. He's out for the season. Chapman, you're right, can't hit. Yeah. They have pieces. Logan Webb is still one of the best pitchers in baseball. Yeah. But my note to them, the team has given up like the city. I know people in San Francisco are going to come after me now.
We invite those comments.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. You enjoy your $25 burger. I thought the sophomore slump for Corbin Carroll is a very interesting storyline. I think, he's really not hitting. I think his average is under 200. No power this year. Really, I don't want to put one. He's too young for me to do this, but he's a big reason why the Diamondbacks are below 500. I think if he was average, like league average, or obviously Corbin Carroll potential, they could easily be second. But if he doesn't go, the Diamondbacks won't go. And what separates the Diamondbacks and Padres for me is the GM and the money. The Diamondbacks have some money. I'm not saying they're a poor team like, the Pirates or the Reds or something like that. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They have a very large payroll this year. Padres just seem to never care. They've already got Luis Ariz. They made that clear. They got Dylan Cease. They're pushing and they're pushing and they're pushing. Yeah. I'd love for them to get not an infielder at some point this offseason or this trade deadline. Maybe they can actually find a starting outfielder.
Mainly a center fielder.
So many infielders.
Because they got a shortstop playing center field.
They have shortstop playing
21 years old.
Yeah. Every position on the diamond.
And he's doing okay, by the way.
I know, but a good outfielder would be good there.
I know.
And I really don't know how the Dodgers have 17 losses. I know there's some injuries, but I think that number was more surprising to me than their wins.
Yeah. Well, they're getting a little better because that differential was a little, lower before. So they patted that in the last couple of weeks.
It was closer, but I'm looking at that team, and I even looked up who has the losses. It seems to be the bullpen. So I can see them trying to go after. Obviously, they'll be buyers, and I'll put all the money that they make the playoffs. But yeah, my playoffs are Phillies, Braves, Brewers, Dodgers, Padres, and then it becomes a conversation for the sixth team. I would say the Diamondbacks, but unless a Cub or another NL Central team can really push, this bothered me last season in quarter two, that people that were on that brink, that were on that edge of making it, not making it, just kind of stood pat, aka the Cubs. They could have sold the team with Belly and a bunch of other pieces and rebuilded, but they didn't really buy either.
They're on the fence.
So I think if you can't do that. You have to sell or buy, and doing nothing, people are going to get better around you.
A lot of that is Cubs ownership. I mean,
it sucks.
I know. Jed's hands are tied at times with how much he can spend and everything. This offseason, they should have spent a lot more money than they did. But apparently, from what I understand, he had to go up to the first level of the finance and everything. And what's the word I'm looking for? The line that you can't...
Luxury tax?
Yes. That you could only go up to the first line of luxury tax, and that's where they're going to be held until they show they can win, and then the owner may let some more money go. So, I mean, that's hard to run a team when you have such constraints on your budget. So, and they're a big city market, let's face it. They make tons of money. The Ricketts have done very well in Chicago. So I think the people in Chicago are getting a little fed up with the Ricketts financial plan.
Dad, I appreciate your burns. This is very fun for us. The Cornerly Report is now complete. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you enjoyed some jokes, some roasts, some literal burns.
You did great metaphors, by the way.
Thank you. I did this last night too. I just had fun writing it.
Very good.
I like writing and I like baseball. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video. Give us some comments. Interact with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate that. And follow us on all social media. We are at Pastime Podcast _ on Twitter and Instagram. And we are the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook. Anything to close out that?
Thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
It is a special also birthday episode, so if you listen this far, drop me a little happy birthday in the comments. I do appreciate it. I share this birthday with the now great and late Brooks Robinson. It's our first birthday without him, so I wouldn't complete this podcast without honoring him, and we certainly do all miss you, Brooks. Thanks for listening.